So today we're going to talk about special products. So first, please place a check mark here if you like shortcuts. I do. So there are three types of special products. All of them can be solved using FOIL. So if you don't want to memorize these, that's okay. But if you learn the shortcuts for these three special products, you can solve them in a faster way. So, special product number one, the square of a sum. Sorry about that. So, sum means addition. And when they are squaring a sum, that means we're multiplying that sum by itself. So let's do the FOIL and see what we can figure out about it. This is just a general or generic form. A and B could represent anything. So first, we get a squared, outer, a times b, inner, b times a. You can write BA, but I'm going to keep it in the same order so that it's clear those are the same. And then last, b times b is b squared. So we do have two like terms right here, ab plus ab, or if you want to think about it, 1ab plus 1ab. So it's a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. You're thinking, and where's this shortcut you speak of? Well, for anything where it's the same two things being added together, multiplied by itself, it's the square of the first which you see right here, the square of the first term, plus 2 times the first times the second, that's the middle term, 2 times the first number times the second number, or first term times the second term, plus the square of the last. So the square of the first plus 2 times the first times the second plus the square of the last. So let's try to remember that as we try these two examples. So it could be written just like it was written right here, where you just see the sum and it says squared. So you know what that actually means is 3x plus 5 times 3x plus 5. So this is the first, the 3x. This is the second, the 5. So we do the first squared, so 3x squared. 3 squared is 9, x squared is x squared. Plus, I'm going to write this down here, 2 times the first times the second. So 2 times 3x is 6x. 6x plus 5 is 30x. Plus the square of the second term, or the square of the last. 5 squared is 25. And we just solved that without having to do any foiling. First squared plus 2 times the first times the second plus the square of the last. And so notice they can be written two different ways. This one was just written as the sum squared. This one is the sum times itself, which is the same idea. It's just written differently. But this is still the same special case. So this is still the first and the second. We don't have to rewrite them. And we don't have to FOIL because we can do the square of the first. So remember to square both the 8 and the c. Plus 2 times the first times the second. So 2 times 8 is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. Then we have a C and a D to tack on. So again, this gave us this. and this gave us this. And then we square the second, or square the last. 3 squared is 9, d squared is d squared. So if you remember this shortcut, you can get through this pretty quickly. Now, the second special case, or special product, is similar. It's just the square of a difference. So instead of the square of a sum, where we're adding, it's the square of a difference, where we're subtracting. Sorry. So let's do this by foiling and then see if we can figure out the pattern. So I do first, outer, so that's a times negative b, so we negative ab, inner, negative ab, and last, negative b times negative b is positive b squared. So just like before, the middle terms will combine. That's negative 1ab minus 1ab, so it's negative 2ab. So if you look, the only difference between this result and this result is this sign right here. Both of them start with a squared and end with b squared. The only difference is that when you have the sum, this is the plus sign. When you are subtracting, it's the minus sign. So this is very similar as far as the pattern. We'd say the square of the first, but here's the only really difference. Minus, this word right here, minus 2 times the first times the second plus the second squared. So it's the square of the first minus 2 times the first times the second plus the second squared. So the only difference between the square of the sum and the square of the difference is this word right here. So let's practice it on these two on the back. So here's our first one, here's our second one. So the square of the first, 2 squared is 4, x squared is x squared. Then we do 2 times, minus 2 times the first times the second. 2 times 2 is 4, times 5 is 20. X times y is xy. Then it's plus the square of the second. 5 squared is 25, y squared is y squared. Okay, here, 6p is our first, 1 is our second. So we do the first squared, 36p squared, minus 2 times the first times the second. So 2 times 6p is 12p, times 1 is still 12p, plus the square of the second, 1 squared is 1. And I saved the best for last. This one is even quicker. This is when you got the product of a sum and a difference. So they have to be the same terms. The first term is the same in both. The second term is the same in both. It's just in one time they've got a plus, in one they've got a minus. So let's FOIL and see what happens. First, a times a is a squared. Outer, a times negative b is negative ab. Inner, a times positive b is positive ab. And last, b times negative b is negative b squared. So as you noticed, all of these, the middle terms can be combined because they're like terms. But this time it's negative 1ab plus 1ab, which means there are 0 ab's that cancel out. So all that's left is a squared minus b squared. So this shortcut is so quick, as long as you can recognize that pattern, it's just the square of the first minus the square of the second. So square of the first minus the square of the second. Okay? So this one matches the pattern. 2x squared, 2x squared, 3, 3. But one has a plus, one has a minus. So we do the square of the first. 2 squared is 4. X squared is x squared squared is x to the fourth. Minus the second one squared, 3 squared is 9. And we're finished. It's really that little work if you can recognize that pattern. Okay, this one also matches. 4c, 4c, 7d, 7d. One's a plus, one's a minus. So I did this example to make sure you knew it doesn't matter if the plus comes in the first or the second term. It doesn't matter if the minus comes in the first or the second set of parentheses. As long as you have one of each, this works. So the first is 4c. 4c squared is 16c squared. Minus 7d is the second. 7d squared is 49d squared.